Second and third. But he's still on. Yeah. So just move him down, move three. Which one of these? For that type. Which one is it?
Just use it, the supply. Turn off the volume. Turn on here, right here.
All right, good afternoon, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we want to welcome you to the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation National Spatial Data Management Branch, also in accordance with the Land Information Council of Jamaica's 11th GIS Technical Seminar. So welcome to you all who are present in the room and for those who are online. My name is Rafiq Islam and I will be your moderator for today. All right, so without further ado, we will go straight into the national anthem, after which we will have a prayer by Mr. Maurice Thompson. All right, so we will all stand for the national anthem. Thank you. You may be seated. We have now Mr. Maurice Thompson to open us up in prayer.
Could you remain standing, please? Well, let us pray. Lord and Heavenly Father, as we come to your midst once more, Almighty God, Lord, we put these proceedings in your hands, Almighty God. Let it be your will, Almighty God. And as we go forward, Almighty God, bless the presentation, the presenters, Almighty God, those that are actually here physically, Almighty God, and those that are actually watching online, Almighty God. Just continue to bless our lives, Almighty God, and may the proceedings be of your will, Almighty God, in clarity and understanding. All these things we ask in Jesus' name we pray and respond by Amen.
Amen. All right, you all may be seated. All right, so I want to officially welcome you all once again. Thank you all for being here. And we are off to a late start. So you know that we are in accordance to remaining on time. We're going to be moving a little quickly. All right, wonderful. All right, so in accordance with what we have to do today, we will be bringing up Dr. Young, who will bring you greetings, and followed by Miss Simone Lloyd, who will also be bringing greetings from the ministry. We have Dr. Young who is a professor of geomatics education and also the dean of the Faculty of the Built Environment here at UTech. Ms. Simone Lloyd, she is the Principal Director for the National Spatial Data Management Branch. And from then, we will move on into our presentations. We will have our first presentation done by Mr. Chaplain Williams and also Mr. Fredrick Gordon, which will be on the topic of drone technology and its application to land valuation and Cadastre, followed by Mr. Ryan Wallace, who will do enabling the digital geospatial economic for Manchester, Jamaica. And then we will end with the presentation by Mr. Andre Reed, who will do wildfire-targeting management response through the use of remotely derived data sets. All right, so without further ado, we will have Dr. Garfield Young, who will bring you greetings from UTech.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good afternoon. Ms. Simone Lloyd, I think the strong force behind this seminar and many other activities related to Geography Week. I extend welcome to all the specially invited individuals, particularly those who will be making presentations today, and we look forward to that. I was a little concerned when I saw the number in the room, but I am somewhat relieved that we are also streaming live, so I also greet the individuals who have joined us virtually, and in this day and age, the hybrid arrangement is almost automatic. I'd like to extend welcome to you to the University of Technology, Jamaica, particularly in the year when we celebrate our 65th anniversary. So it's a significant year for UTech, and in fact today, all of you in this room at the end of this will make your way to LT50 for the 65th anniversary distinguished lecture. I won't tell you who is doing it, you will see when you get in the room. Promises to be exciting. It is also the year when we celebrate 50 years of land surveying at the University of Technology and former CAST. So it really is a significant year. It is the week that we celebrate World Town Planning Day, and a lot has been happening. So I bring you greetings on behalf of the President and Executive Management of the University and on behalf of the entire staff and student body of the Faculty of the Built Environment. The Faculty of the Built Environment is a little space on campus where we deliver courses in geospatial sciences. There is a land surveying and GIS program, and the GIS component of the course is not 50 years old, it was added subsequently. But we are proud to make the statement that GIS education is a part of what we do. It really is very important, and we're happy that a number of persons sitting in this room and perhaps some of you online help to support the delivery of a solid education in geospatial sciences right here at the University of Technology, Jamaica. So welcome again, enjoy the seminar, and we look forward to the presentation.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Young. All right, without further ado, we will hand over to Ms. Simone Lloyd, who is the Principal Director for National Spatial Data Management Branch.
Thank you, Rafiq. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and for starting us off as we celebrate the first event that we'll be having this year in our series of activities for Geography Awareness Week 2023. This year, we will be celebrating as a Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and as a Land Information Council of Jamaica community, we are very happy that the University of Technology Jamaica has confirmed and it has been willing to support us and to partner with us with respect to hosting the first event. today our 11th staging of the GIS Technical Seminar. So many thanks to you, Dr. Young, for all the hard work with respect to planning, leading up to this event. We're very happy for the support of the faculty of the Built Environment and the University of Technology at large, especially as we celebrate this year under the theme, Geospatial Technologies Enabling the Digital Economy. We're very happy that we're able to celebrate and to recognize the fact that geospatial technologies have been enabling and they continue to enable, and we can see based on the presentations that will be shared this afternoon and also based on all that will be shared during the other events that will be happening over the next 2 weeks, how it is that we're really using as a country geospatial technologies in so many various areas as we strive towards Jamaica being more a technologically enabled society. So thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We're very delighted that the National Environment and Planning Agency, the National Land Agency, in addition to the Manchester Municipal Corporation, have kindly consented to share all that they're doing with respect to the use of these technologies and all the solutions that they have developed that have enabled them to do their work better, more efficiently with respect to reach. So we're very happy that our presenters have consented to be here and that we're sharing all the good work that is being done. So this is the first of 4 events. So we're happy that you're here with us, but we also invite you to join us to be with us for the other 3 events. So after today, we'll be at the Clifton New Testament Church of God on Sunday, which is November the 12th. And we'll be there from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And we'll be worshiping with them as we thank God for all the many blessings over the 21 years in terms of sojourn of celebrating Geography Awareness Week in Jamaica. So please join us for that event. Then on the 15th of November, from 8:30 all the way up until 4 p.m. in the afternoon, we're happy to be partnering again with the University of the West Indies, Mona. They have been the long-standing home of GIS in Jamaica, GISDAY in Jamaica, and so we're very happy that they continue to partner with us as they see the importance of the field of geography and to a wider extent, geospatial technologies as a sub of that. So we're happy to be there, so we invite you to come out, be with us on Wednesday all day. We'll be having quite an array of booths that will be mounted by various private sector, public sector partners, also academia who will be sharing all the work that they are doing. So please spread the word within your organizations, within your community groups, among education institutions of which you're affiliated with and otherwise, so that they are aware and so they come out. It will be a fun-packed day filled with quite a bit with respect to knowledge sharing based on all that the booth exhibitors will be sharing. But we'll be having an entire array of competitions, both for students but also for adults. And so we really invite you to come out, share, learn, and to be a part of all that we'll be having. GeoTalks is a major component of GISDAY when we have it on Wednesday, and so we look forward to hearing from the young professionals in terms of their geospatial journey so that others can benefit, students, but also sometimes teachers and other persons can benefit from hearing their journey. And so with that, help to chart their way in terms of their path. Also, we are supporting Trimble. Trimble Incorporated has kindly consented to partner with us with respect to hosting the events this year, Geography Awareness Week. And so on the 16th of November, they'll be having their Trimble Day in the Caribbean. It's the first time that they'll be having the event within Jamaica. And so we're very happy that they'll be journeying here to share with us on Thursday. And we hopefully should be having participants from other Caribbean regions who will also be joining us here on Thursday of next week. And so please soak up all the knowledge based on all that will be shared. Please jot down your questions after each of the presentations that will be shared today. And please do share and be willing to open up with respect to hearing from the presenters the responses to the queries that you may have. So please do not feel intimidated. Please write down your questions and please do make the question and answer session after each presentation at the end very impactful. And also, please join us for the Thanksgiving church service on Sunday, also for the big GISDAY Expo, the 21st staging next week Wednesday, and also the Trimble Day in the Caribbean. Some of you would have gotten invites. If you're interested and there is still space, please reach out to us via social media or otherwise so that we can extend the invitation if you can still be accommodated. All right? So thank you for being with us. Please do have a wonderful seminar. Please do learn as much as you can. See how it is based on what will be shared, if you can impart and apply some of this in your own organization. So thank you. Over to you, Rafiq.
Thank you, Ms. Lloyd. All right. So for all the persons in the room, just to reiterate, November 12th, we have the Thanksgiving service. I expect everyone who is in the room to be there. I've been looking for faces. Also, November 16th, which is the National GIS Day Exposition, which will be at the University of the West Indies. And then finally, the Trimble Day, which will be?
Courtyard by Marriott.
Courtyard by Marriott. All right, so, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting into the meat of the matter, what we've come here to hear today. And we're going to start things off with the first presentation, which will be done by Mr. Chaplain Williams, as well as Mr. Fredrick Gordon. Now, before they come up here, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about each of these outstanding gentlemen. Now, for Mr. Chaplain Williams, you said that he is a highly accomplished professional with a diverse background in geospatial technologies and land management. He currently serves as the Supervisor of Topographical Data Management at the National Land Agency, where he oversees the photogrammetry and cartography departments and has played a key role in establishing the drone team and the drone pilot certification course. With a strong academic foundation, Chaplain completed the prestigious Erasmus Mundus Scholar Program, earning a master's in the geospatial technologies from renowned institutions such as Nova University in Lisbon, Portugal, Jaime University in Castellón, Spain, and the University of Münster in Germany. His expertise lies in areas such as drone technology for mapping and inspection, geographic information systems, 3D Cadastre, urban and regional planning, cartography, and photogrammetry. All right, so now let's get on to Mr. Gordon. Now, it says Mr. Gordon holds a bachelor's degree in land economy and valuation survey. He joined the National Land Agency in 2001 as a valuer at the Land Valuation Division. Previously, he was also a valuer with the Land Valuation Department from 1989. Now, Mr. Gordon has moved up through the ranks from valuer to valuation surveyor, and currently to senior valuation surveyor attached to the northeast region of the National Land Agency. He's also a member of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors and a trained certified drone pilot. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for me as we welcome Mr. Chaplain Williams and Fredrick Gordon for their presentation on drone technology and its application to land valuation and cadastre.
Mr. Williams. No.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. All right, let me just thank you for having us here and bring greetings. Let me greet Dr. Professor Young, right? World Gets Around, and the UTech family, and also Miss Lloyd and the NSDMD family, and each and everyone who is here, all the distinguished guests, including my manager, Mr. Saunders, who is here as well, and all the guests online. All right, let me thank you for coming, and we want to just talk to you a little bit about what we've been doing at the National Land Agency. All right, my teammate, Mr. Gordon, say hi. Hi. All right, good. So we're speaking about the application of drones in property valuation and mapping. So just by way of an introduction, we will cover a quick background to what drones are, the types of drones and typical components of our quadcopter drone, which is one of the main ones used, right? There are other types as well. Then we look at drone use regulation and general rules for operation. We look at the application and advantages of drone use in property valuation. the science behind how drone mapping works. We look at how drones aid in photogrammetry and remote sensing, pre-flight planning and post-flight processing, all right, so post-processing, and drone operations for property valuation. We look at the limitations of drone use in property valuation and mapping and other related uses, and then we'll see some quick videos and see exactly what has been happening. So the concept of drones is not new. It has been around since the mid-19th century when air balloons were used by Austria in the war against Venice.
2015.
Now, up until a few years ago, drone use was still restricted by governments to mostly military use. However, because of technological advancements, we now have drones within the commercialized space, and professionals like ourselves have been using it and putting it to good use. So drones have proven applicable in many areas of the built environment, including but not limited to property valuation, mapping, and land surveying. So what are drones? A drone is an unmanned aircraft or a remotely piloted aircraft. These are terms used to describe the device itself, whereas the term unmanned aircraft system is generally used to describe the entire operating system. So there is the device, then there is the data link, there is the controls, and then there is the drone pilot, who all make up the system called UAS, Unmanned Aircraft System. So this is an example of a drone. This is called a single rotor drone, and it is so called because of the propeller. You know, we have one propeller there. Trying to point. Right. So it's a single rotor drone. Then we also have other types, like we have the quadcopter, because it has 4 rotors. Then we have the hexacopter, which has 6 rotors. We have the octacopter, which has 8 rotors, and they are more powerful as the number of rotors increase, right? So they can lift higher loads and do greater things and go further distances. Then we have other types of drones, fixed-wing drones, which are very good for efficiency, and these can actually do large-scale mapping projects. Then we have drones which are designed to give you the best of both worlds. So they have technology that can cause them to vertically launch and land, and also give the efficiency of fixed-wing drones. So they are called VTOL drones, vertical takeoff and landing drones. And these are somewhat of a hybrid. I'll quickly skip past this, but really and truly we're just looking at different parts of a normal quadcopter drone. So for drone use regulation in Jamaica, the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority is the body responsible for regulating drone operations in Jamaica. There is no legislation as yet to guide how drone pilots operate within Jamaica. However, there is a bill in the House of Parliament, and hopefully at some date soon that bill will be passed, and we will have more order to how drone operations go within Jamaica. Currently, however, for professional work, permits are actually given to drone pilots and organizations on a project level by the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority. So if you're flying without a permit, please talk to the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority. All right? Now, just a few rules in terms of general rules how drones are supposed to be used. They should not be flown at heights exceeding 122 meters, which is 400 feet in the air. If you do, you can actually collide with manned aircraft, the helicopters and other aircraft up there. Do not fly beyond a range of 500 meters away from you, the pilot. Drones must be kept within the visual line of sight of the pilot at all times. Do not fly over crowded areas, do not fly over people, or at least too close to people, because accidents can happen. And do not fly within 165 feet of any person who is not within the drone project team. So that's something that's very important as well. So drones may not be operated on public or private property without prior authorization. So, you know, there are many hobbyists who take their drones and do all sorts of things. You are supposed to get prior authorization, especially if you're flying too low and within the vicinity of persons' private property. All right? Do not fly within 3 miles of any airport or helipad. Very important. Drones may not be used to drop or discharge items to the ground. At this point, we do not have the regulations to support that. Drones may not be operated in restricted or prohibited airspace, such as some JDF installations, the Petrojam, etc. And the King's House, Jamaica House, etc. Now, in terms of application of drone use in property valuation, I'll allow Mr. Gordon to pick up on that.
Me? Hello, everyone. Caroline's my turn. Yes. Fredrick Gordon is the name. However, why he turns over this microphone to me is that I've done valuations from 1989 up to now. And I've just started because I'm introducing the drone technology in my line of work. Since I started using it, the work that I have in terms of the time of inspections and to actually cover ground has improved significantly. So this is just to introduce, in the sense that one of the core functions in terms of how we exercise our valuation profession is inspection. And the drone itself actually, in a sense, has improved or enhanced our inspection capabilities. Previously, we usually, when we go to a property that is, what we call it, Macabush or Prickle. Government will give us insurance for that, but the drone itself gave us access to these properties when previously we couldn't actually go to these properties. And we are now looking at properties now that previously that were so large that we sometimes take 3-4 days to inspect. We're now inspecting them in 20 minutes, 15 minutes, sometimes less, depending on the pilot. We continue. All right, so basically it's one of the tools that we use for inspections. In terms of a building itself, you have areas of the building that sometimes we cannot reach, like the roof, sometimes under the bridge. Sometimes under the bridge because we can't go in the river. In fact, we use the drones to look at the integrity of all of the built environment that in terms of doing evaluation. However, first, we usually have what? Cameras. And now everybody using their iPhones now to take photos. But this is just consider this as an iPhone in the sky looking down at an object. However, I've used it also to do internal inspections. And in doing this, most times you have to turn off all of the sensors and fly the thing manually. And that's where care, well, sometimes not true Chaplain, we crash sometimes. Back in the days, when we experienced and efficient. Alright, so basically, as I said before, the drones itself actually give us a better perspective on properties itself. It acts whereas we usually will be on the ground level taking photos, we are now in the sky taking photos. Continue. So basically it helps us to work. I can even give you an example. We could not access. With the drone, we could have accessed that area in a matter of 5 minutes. We actually, by virtue of the mapping capabilities, we could have measured the extent of the swamp itself. Whereas before, we could not have done it. But we're going to see a video of that further down in the presentation. Continue. Now, here's our problem. Me and Chaplain, we work upon this problem all the while. And it depends on the weather itself, the wind, the humidity, fog. So these are areas that we don't recommend that drones be flown in. However, one of the main problems with drones itself, which it is now, is actually the high cost. It has come down significantly, but it's still kind of prohibitive to a lot of folks. A lot of folks here look rich now. They can buy them. The thing is though, before we used to have drones with battery life that actually kind of limit the amount of time we use for inspection. Previously we used to have drones that last up to what, 8 minutes, 10 minutes? And now the technology has now improved that we now have up to what, 50 minutes now? And in that 50 minutes you can do a whole heap of inspection and mapping and spying. Oh, one did hear that far. Yes. However though, drone use is actually subject to regulations, and a lot of folks that seen flying the drones where we are Chaplain, they're cringing and said these people don't know what they're doing.
Flow beyond this and to look at as I said, the science behind how drone mapping works. So typically this is what happens. The drone is in the sky and you're flying over the terrain, whatever is on the terrain, and you're collecting information about what's on the terrain. And in this case, you're seeing that the drone is collecting different information within the pixels of the imagery. The red, the yellow, the green, all of this is actually different information that is collecting, right? And this is what makes the information so valuable. So photogrammetry and remote sensing applies because photogrammetry is the art, science, and technology of obtaining reliable information about physical objects and the environment through processes of recording, measuring, and interpreting photogrammetric images. So you collect probably hundreds or thousands of imagery, and you put them together and you extract valuable information from that. Remote sensing also comes into play. This is the process of detecting and monitoring the physical characteristics of an area by measuring its reflected and emitted radiation at a distance. So in this case, we're not talking about satellites, but drones that we fly. So this is how it works. We extract, so we have the sun as our source, right? So most of our mapping occurs in the day, right? And we fly the drone, the device, and we collect information of all the elements on ground, be it trees, buildings, roads, whatever water, whatever is on ground. We're collecting information on the device about those features, and then that information is then downloaded to a server, and we do all our processing to create these great maps and products, some of which we're going to talk about shortly. So this is just one of the products that we create. This shows the photogrammetric reconstruction that happens when we collect drone imagery. And so these represent 6 images that were collected over a particular landscape. The images are overlapping because that's required for photogrammetric processing. And we now have a 3D reconstruction of the project area that relates to where we fly. Quickly to look at some of the drones that we have been using within our fleet. We have a number of them, the Parish Anafi, DJI Mini, DJI Air 2S, Mavic 2 Pro, and our more premier drones, the SenseFly EBX, which is a fixed-wing drone, and our premier drone, our Wingtra 1 Generation 2 vertical takeoff and landing drone. All right, the technology is ridiculously smart. This drone can actually allow you to see probably a stud on ground from 80 meters in the air. All right, pretty smart. So this is just a quick run through of the processes that we engage. We engage a reconnaissance process, which we do some in-house work. Get some in-house, some background information quickly, and then we plan our flights. Then we do our flights, and then we do some post-processing using various software. So it's a process that you have to be willing to learn various software, how they work. This is just an example of one of the products that we create. It's a 3D point cloud. So these are millions of points that actually have the red, green, blue registration of all the features on the ground. So you can click on each individual point here and see what it represents, right? How has the drone helped us? We have an example here of a building that was being inspected, right? And we were on the field looking at the building. Normally we would take our phones and just take some pictures at our best angles, right?
We couldn't go behind there at all.
But based on the shrubbery, we could not access some aspects of the building. So we would have stayed on field and collected our data. But with our flyover, we're seeing now aspects of the building that we weren't able to see before, right? And this is just a very small example of what is obtained out there in the field. So other related uses, drones are used for real estate marketing, land use planning, property maintenance and monitoring, property surveillance and crop monitoring, and one of the great things that we're doing with it now is actually to aid, we've done a test to aid in the regular 2D cadastre, in cadastral mapping. We've done a test, and we're not ready to release the results, but we're still ensuring that we have good results. And we now have what we call a 3D cadastre, which I'll introduce to you shortly. These are just some quick examples of some of the imagery that we do obtain from our drones. So we have an oblique imagery here. This is in Discovery Bay. You can pick up a lot of valuable information from this. All right, you can do various types of studies from this type of imagery. This is an imagery that's looking straight down, 90 degrees down. This is downtown Kingston. And you can zoom into these images very, very far and get very valuable information as well. This is an example of, this was taken over by the UWI University, right? University of the West Indies. We're seeing parts of the Mona Dam and the lower parts of the Ligani Plains, and we're seeing some of the buildings on site, on campus. Now, I'll quickly walk through with you what we have as one of our newest solutions that we're still building out. Is called the 3D cadastre. Now, very quickly, what we normally obtain in terms of the cadastre is to manage properties or parcels of land in a 2D manner. So this is one of our older maps, the IMAP interface with buildings, and we turned off the parcels, but normally we would manage our data like this. But we've now, with drone technology, we've now created a 3D map. So this particular building is a strata, so it's a high-rise with a number of floors. And what we've done is to include within our map what we would call it, an icon that you can click, and it now turns the map into a 3D interface. All right, I just talk over the voice. So you would now open our map, and you would see the data in 2D, but this does not accurately represent what we want to represent, right? Especially with a strata property, there are owners living on top of owners. And to manage the cadastre, we would prefer to be able to identify each individual unit within. So now, upon selecting the 3D button or icon, the map immediately changes to a 3D interface. And now we're seeing the buildings actually come up in a 3D manner. Our test building will come up soon. It is right here. This building is located just across from NHT. This is NHT, this is E-Park. This building is right here along Half-a-Tree Road. Now, with this technology, you can now select each individual unit, and you can now manipulate the cadastral information like that. So you can access title, you can access ownership information, you can access the strata plan, you can access a lot of various information about the different floors. You can turn off the 4th floor and keep the 2nd floor alone, and you can look at everything according to the floor plan, right? Yeah. So you can see what unit is sold, you can see what unit maybe an insurance company is interested in, etc. You can click on each unit and you can access valuable information for each. So this is now the most current product that we are building out. We've been building this type of data for Montego Bay, Mandeville, Kingston and St. Andrew, and most recently for Ocherias. And at some point, we'll be serving this up to the public. Thank you. So just quickly, to complete our presentation, Mr. Gordon will now look at some of the valuation products.
You mean the inspection that we did out at Landover? I want to see if we can skip it quickly too. It's a video. Can't touch that there. That is your video. This is my video. Well, this property out at Landover, that actually was a farm. It's actually 1,444 acres. And in order to inspect this property for agricultural irrigating purposes, we'll have to spend a great deal of time at the property, getting every information that we need for the board to make their assessment. Before, we couldn't do that. We couldn't have done that. Everything that we usually saw was just on ground level. Now, with the drone, we actually see the extent of the property itself. We saw, we can talk about the conditions of the building. Even the LiDAR will actually give you the condition of the animals, if they are sickly or the grass needs more fertilizer, everything. Can't speak it. Oh, that right here. Before, we'd have seen basically at the edge, knowing that there's overgrowth, and said, well, there must be some water body there, but we couldn't verify. But with the drone, we actually did. And at this section, we find that the vegetation is now receding. I don't know if there's a problem there. But anyway, I did even a flyover my workplace, National Land Agency, 8 Arden Road. And even at this section, because of the Kingston Penn Aerodrome, we had to fly at this height, which was like about 50 feet. Come on, you can speak a little bit more. You can go and touch the ribbon somewhere else, yeah. Whoops. Well, technology. Yes. Technology. Yeah. However, though, as I said before, with the drone technology that we have now, our inspection time has actually significantly reduced. And we are now producing products for the clients with more enhanced imagery, more videos. In fact, for them to make better decisions in terms of for the agricultural rating, which is the board, land taxation relief, and the valuations that we do for government institutions. We do for private, yes, but we're not promoting that more for government institutions. Thank you.
So, thank you. We'll just stop it right there. There's more to the video, but we're open to any questions that there may be. All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a warm applause, well, more than warm, a hearty round of applause for Mr. Gordon and Mr. Williams. It really was a wonderful tag team of a presentation, and I truly found it informative. It was an excellent presentation. I never thought as to how technology would be employed into just mapping of the land and how it can, save time, effort, and also money. All right, so in moving on, we will have our next presentation being done by Mr. Ryan Wallace, and his presentation will be on enabling the digital geospatial economy for Manchester, Jamaica. Now, just to give you a little bit of history about Mr. Wallace, it said that he is an experienced urban and regional planner specializing in, just one more please. Okay. All right, for everyone in the room who needs wireless access, UTech has graciously given us access to their wireless. It is UTech. UTech Guest. And there is no password. All right, thank you. All right, so let's get back to talking about Mr. Wallace. All right, so it is said he's an experienced urban and regional planner, specializing in urban design, spatial planning, and GIS database development. With a career spanning 19 years, he has successfully worked on numerous projects related to land use, planning, hazard mapping, and sustainable development. Currently serving as the spatial planner for the Manchester Municipal Corporation, Mr. Wallace plays a vital role in developing GIS infrastructure and managing council assets. His philosophy revolves around the importance of understanding spatial history and employing innovative thinking for effective planning. So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you now to put your hands together as we invite Mr. Ryan Wallace to come forward with his presentation.
Switch to wait.
Good afternoon, everyone. All protocols observed. I'm still cooling down because with this stress trying to come from Mandeville to Kingston in your traffic congestion. So bear with me. All right. I was amazed at what NLA, the team at NLA has done, and we are a consumer of their digital or geospatial information. We have worked with them at one point when they were doing their UAV mapping in Mandeville, and we were able to show them areas that is safe enough to do their work and stuff. Alright, so basically when I was asked to do this presentation based on the topic, I did a little bit background research just to get our full understanding of what is happening and where we are as Jamaica and where Manchester fall in the whole scope. Okay. Alright, so what you're seeing here is really what we call, globally, is called geospatial technology economy. And this is just a synopsis of what's happening. So, for some persons, we know about the UAV technology that NLA uses. Some persons will know about GNS, Global Navigation System, right? You might heard about Earth observation technology, that is your satellites, UAV, and stuff like that. But what this does is to connect to the industries that are now using it, right? Like persons in surveying, persons in disaster, persons in the business sector, infrastructure, agriculture, defense. So with this technology, basically it has morphed to be more integrated into the industry since 2015, based on reading I've done with Geo Magazine or GeoBiz. And was done, they did a research to see what's happening with the whole geospatial technology and the economy and what impact it has been given globally. Right? And since 2015, it has morphed into many industries. Even I wasn't surprised to know that even my favorite sport, what we call Formula One, is using it. And how they're using it, they use through persons like Amazon, because they have a thing called Amazon or WS, I don't remember the full acronym, but it's a system where they use geotechnology, GPS, satellite, UAV, everything, the whole track. When you're watching it on TV, it's real geospatial technology, and also to know whatever component in the vehicle is saying to the computers, right? Ezra is part of them, yes? Trimble is part of them, right? It's a whole ecosystem. And the amount of money Formula One gets from investing in this technology is over $7 billion US dollars. Well, sorry, F1, euro dollars. They don't believe in US dollars, please. Right, so it's amazing. When you watch Formula One nowadays, when they tell you, hear them talk about certain part of the component like a millimeter per second, that's how the technology has been evolved. Smaller microchips, smaller units, it's amazing. However, as part of the ecosystem, what makes it really amazing is this, you guys know about big data, right? Yes. All right? Internet of Things, right? IoT, cloud system, right? What else again? Artificial intelligence. I haven't started using it yet. Anybody start using it?
I think you start using it with your phone.
With my phone? All right. Right. These four guys is like the main brainchild for the whole geospatial technology in the industries that I've mentioned. Alright, so I was saying I'm going to probably break down and go through each meeting, but I think so far I came in a little late, so I don't know if any spoke, no. Alright. Alright, so basically right as I broke it down, the economy into four categories. So they start off saying you need the geospatial data, right? Which is critical. And that involves really information about any part of the geography on the land, anything. Right to where it is now. Anything it has more from 2D to 4D. I'm hearing them going 5D. Yes. Right. Anyway, spoke heavily about some of the geospatial technologies, UAV. Right. You have your GPS. You have your GNS. Right. For surveyors, I notice nowadays that in the building construction they have this Trimble thing with the 3D laser thing where they can use to measure the accuracy of the building lineage, and someone in a container somewhere would have to come on the building, can stay there and monitor to ensure that the building lineage is good and the whole bearing capacity and blah 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 from that little unit and stuff. Okay, sorry. Move on to the next one. All right. So these are the four areas of the geospatial technology, right? GIS and positioning, GIS and spatial analytics, the Earth observation, and 3D scanning. Oh, sorry. Go back and right. And this just explains what each area really, in terms of the what they call streaming up and down in the industry, like an upper level, lower level, where each component will fall. So with the GNS, you have certain satellites where they do upstreaming and self-service from the upstreaming. You have the downstreaming devices like the virtual area system. I hope I'm right. Right, you have surveying for most persons on the ground, and you have indoor mapping. Right. I learned indoor mapping with a device called Indoor Insights from the yearly thing. What made that also effective too, if you have Wi-Fi inside the building, you can use that Wi-Fi to help you with indoor mapping, right? And then with some other companies, they use radar, heat-seeking technology and stuff like that. Companies like JetBlue, this is live, right? Alright, I shouldn't call them, sorry. Some aviation company uses heat seekers in the planes with the internet. It's used if in case you crash, they can refer to the black box, use that information to really check how many persons were actually on the plane, right? I heard that the tendency will go even further with each body. They can check the level of heat. Now, if they have a doctor records that is connected to the system with your information, then they can pinpoint who was who and then relay the information to say John Brown, yes, was undisciplined, but sorry, he didn't.
I was looking for it.
John Brown, right. Yeah, well, I didn't want to say that, but right. So basically what I read on it says basically please adhere to the FAA regulations and the airport in 2023 and onward. Please sit in that designated seat. It is very important. The one ideally could sit anywhere, but no, it's more important. All right. Digital world enablers, right? I spoke about the IoT, the artificial intelligence cloud system, wireless. So these are the enablers with connected to also other persons like your cellular networks, right? So when you're using, besides for many, you probably have your own cloud backup system, right? Not yet? All right, so over. All right. Persons like us at Manchester would have to rely on digital. Sorry, the digital persons. Sorry. Yeah. Our flow, our good people at NSDMD, because even though they are connected or they give us access to the ELA system, Esri themselves also have a cloud system as well. So even with the software you upload, they create a community, and for us it's a GeoGIS system. So that is our cloud system where you have access to your software, you can store your data, and it can be shared among other entities. The only problem I have is that for us at Manchester, we want to kind of publicize it to the public and to our officers. Now, be honest with you, I can say this. Our officers, when we say, here's your password, go on the ELA thing, that thing with the password gone through the window, there's no business with that. So our officers in the building component are really grabbing. So they just rely on me to do everything for them, which is not efficient. So, but I'm glad that for NSDMD, not DB, right, branch, right, for ensuring that the ELA is running, because right now, as time goes along, we know technology is getting more expensive in Jamaica, not really necessarily abroad. I don't know why in Jamaica it's getting more expensive, because the technology is getting smaller, more compact, more efficient, so it should have been, the price in Jamaica should be going with it, but it's going in the opposite direction. And I can talk from experience. We use GPS collectors. We have the Geo XM devices where we pay one time 1.2 million, 2.something million for two. Then when they were introduced to the tablets, we thought, all right, the price came down a little more because of inflation. Our directors, the councillors, quarreled and bashed and said, this is the last time we're buying it. So right now, for us, we'll be relying on people like NLA for geoproducts, the training that you're offering now, NSDMD with the software and the community they have engrafted on us, and yeah, these little devices to do some work, our work. That is where we are at now at the parish now. So once upon a time we could use the boast walking around with the RTK devices, so we can go to 1 meter and all those stuff. No, yeah, we have to go start with 5 meters. But the way how the technology has evolved now, based on our partners, they can help us to improve the accuracy so that when we go out and do our inspection, we know that we are close to whatever that our officers need. All right? Right, so I touch on the digital ecosystem, so I'll just go to the next slide. Right, so I try my best to put it, but this is how they projected. So geospatial technology here on your left, in yellow, the facilitators, which really is your standards. So most companies, we have our standards to where these technologies will operate and the way we collect your data. All right, open data in terms for them, they say it's more than just what you think. What they're saying is that the whole system should be open up to all the users. But you spend money, so some person have to charge a little money to keep the system going. But generally, to make it more efficient and cost effective, I think when you look at Google Maps, right, which is an open source currently, I don't know if they have activated the paying savers.
They have the pay thing, but you get more from that, more features.
More features.
Okay. You get live features.
Live features. Alright, so, and then you have your interconnected system, right? I spoke on that, the IoT, the digital network, everybody, the GIS system, so the whole system networked. Your business processes, right? In terms of how you make your system work. Key part here is really the workflow automation. Now, when you go on sites like NASA, or, you said NASA, no. The National Oceanic Atmospheric NOAA. Their system is automated with a processes. So generally, as you go in and you type in a search, you can get the instant result that you needed. With Esri, with the web portal, GIS manager system, help to cover most of this. So the next thing is that for us to publicize it to our customers, you have the apps and the social media. So all these guys rest on the drivers, the IoT, the artificial intelligence, cloud, wireless, big data. And then these are three main, they categorize the whole industry into three main groups: the government, the business, so they categorize everybody who is business-wise as in the business sector, and then you have the citizens. And then from that, the information that you produce, they will feed and produce value-added products, basically. All right. All right. So as I said, the geospatial economy now, with all what is mentioned now, the end result is to provide value-added product from whatever products that you're developing using the technology, right? And you can derive returns indirectly or directly. Indirectly from Manchester, although some sites going to bring it, but indirectly from Manchester is we just have to make sure we have the data that we need, that persons in the construction or persons who are interested in investing in Manchester, we're able to see ROI, investment in return investment, right? So I can give you two examples, like Ministry of Finance wanted to relocate the tax office. We had developed spatially our Manchester local sustainable land use plan. We were told by NEPA not to call it zoning, but it's really a zoning. But our plan and the development order work in tangent, because with the development order, they only concentrate in what they call the local planning area, the town division. We do it for the entire parish. So if you want to find somewhere to do agriculture for a certain yield, we can look at the plan, we can tell so this area, yes, because of the site type. And what our information is that our information comes from the major central government agencies like Ministry of Agriculture, National Land Agency, Forestry Department, NICE, National Land and Work Agency, which is now rolling out our traffic management plan. They do two projects in Manchester, which came from our LSDP. So we consume their information, do the processing, analysis, and all of that, and just produce a plan. Because at the end of the day, the business people don't really business with the analysis; they just want to see the results and tell me so where they can go. The next thing we want to learn is to crunch numbers. That's the next thing about added component. It's not in my presentation, but that's the next key area when you're selling your products. Crunch numbers so they can see. Like Mr. Basic can pick it up and say, I love this. I can make this amount of money. All right. And your service will be valued in terms financially, so they will always come to you, even if they have to purchase it, because they know the returns will be like. All right. Right. So I mentioned and I brought down the industry. These were the key factors globally. Next slide. All right. And globally, this is how it looks. So America is number one, so that is why you will see defense as the main consumer of the geospatial technology, followed by infrastructure, and I think Jamaica is following suit because the construction industry is booming currently. urban development, utilities, retail, and the list goes on. Alright, so this is showing in terms now, compound, I go again, compound, I remember what's each page here, but it's a value, right? So what you're seeing down in the orange is really, what is being consumed is mostly the GNS and positioning system. That industry is growing, well, has grown and has expanded, but the industry that is coming on now is a 3D scanning. That's a new industry that is growing. So everybody else is already kind of capsized into the market already. But 3D scanning is now the new thing. And with 3D scanning, it's like those tools are incorporating everything. So maybe one day you won't need to carry a GPS again, depending on which industry it is. If when you're looking at a building, just put the thing there, the thing look at the building, refer back to any layer, everybody connect through the network system, and then just like farmer want people that sit on the box and just boop, 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 and the system just tell you, the machine just go boop, 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 and say, all right, boom, bam, bam, this, you need to do this, that. And then you pick up the machine and you talk about the business. But that's what they say. All right, next one. Right. So, as I mentioned, so the 6 global markets: North America, Europe, Asia, South America, Middle East. Where Jamaica fall? Well, we fall in the South America global market, right? And this is from the year, they have collected data from 2013 up to 2020, right? And if I move to the next slide. So I was trying to find out our numbers, but I wasn't able to get it. So basically, we're in the 5.5% of consuming the technology. All right. And yeah, I mentioned here that our geospatial infrastructure powered by Esri and the National Spatial Data Manager kind of help us to catapult us up more, because everybody know that Esri now is a global leader in terms with the software. Remember, the software also is part of the technology, right? So what Esri has done is to create a, we call ArcGIS Online portal system to kind of connect, not kind of, connect everybody globally to information, right? Which you can retrieve on devices anywhere in the world. The only thing about it is that you have to have a password or sign on and pay a little money. So I think for now we have that to work with. I think there are open sources, but they're not so like how Esri has established themselves. I'm not trying to promote Esri, but what it is what it is. Alright, so what I was trying to do with this slide is just to show how much Jamaica itself, as I said before, in the 5.5 we couldn't find what our percentage, but to say on this slide what we more incorporate. So GNS, GIS, spatial analytics, earth observation, mostly is what we consume here in Jamaica. We have developed our standards, we have interconnected system. With Esri, we have a few of the drivers. Enterprise, we have apps and web portal, like NLU that shows the example. Most of our information still today is consumed by government. Alright? Right. And then now here, for Manchester, right, the software, the Earth observation, we use Google, right? From time to time, we contact NLA to see if they have any new up-to-date aerial imagery that we could use, and we consume it to identify buildings that were, what do you call it, a time period to say who's in breach and who falls outside the building act. Alright, sorry. Sorry. What happened now? Our first, from our minister now, and even it was mentioned in our town and planning, that building enforcement will be the way forward. It's not because, well, yes, because of the earthquake.
But the building enforcement is way forward, so the parish council now is retweaking its engine to really go out, and the mandate that the council is asking me to say, no, we need to track and find out who's in breach, who build without a permit and so forth. The only thing we have to do is that we have to take concern with the act is that we cannot trouble anyone if they have built 12 years and the parish council hasn't troubled them. So it's really persons after that we have to go after. And the imagery is one of the tools we use to kind of analyze what has taken place, and it's a lot of work. Another thing we are doing now is that all the building application that we have proved, right, with some of the surveyors mapping and stuff that we collected as part of the application, we're going to bring it back in, try and tie it in, and then use our GPS unit, call NLA and ask them, your 13-day station still working? Right, yes. I want to make sure, because that's a very crucial tool that they have. I'm promoting NLA today, but props to them. Now trust me, they have created a platform that allows a lot of things to be operational, right? So we need to use that because, hear what? We can't just rely on the GIS system. And as he mentioned, sometimes you're out here, cloud cover, rain, all of this. But when you tap into your system, all of those weather elements become almost nil, right? So when I come to you, Mrs. Lloyd, I'm sorry, Miss Lloyd, I'm listening to you say, question ago, did you get a building permit from us? And you jump and say, oh yes! Can you see Parish Council? I said, well, this is my unit, you know, from 2003, based on what that this building wasn't here. Looking through our system, you know, say we give you a permit, you know. So here one. I'm fortunate to tell you, here is a summons. Well, we can't use a stop notice because you're not building, but we're going to give you a survey and notice to say you need to comply. Based on our regulation, if you don't comply, you can spend 6 months in prison after the court decide, or you pay us 1.5 million, whichever one your choice. and that's the way forward. And it's so nice and easy, but we have to do it also with the security back, because there's some years you just can't go in and just do those things, alright? Alright. So before I move on, for us in Manchester, centrally, as the slide before said, government is more consuming, but for us, it's going to be our citizens that will be consuming our data, because we, at the ground level now, will be more directly in contact with the citizens. All right? Right, and as I explained, so this slide just shows how everything really works, right? The GIS system, which is free. The NLA system is mostly password enabled. If you need, so you have to call and they will vet and decide if you're suitable to gain access to the system. Because security, you have to be careful when you're letting into your system. Right? We have all Trimble that we bought for building officers, so hope that they would just adapt the technology and try to use it to do their work. You know, right? So for we pay service for the access to the internet, right? We talk about the ELA with the software has everything, so that will sit on and then we just push the data up and they will go out and do their work, right? And then up at the top now, it's just an example of some data we will provide value added. And I'm going to just give you an example now. Besides the billing enforcement, we have another company which is the tax collection. Yes, I know some person don't like to hear tax collection, especially property tax. They have no business with GCT, but property tax. Our officers in the property tax unit, they are more receptible to the technology because they need it. So it depends on the accuracy of the information. So the boundary and stuff, because they don't want to cross over to a boundary, and the boundary line on the system is not correlated properly. So you don't want to summon Mrs. Barnes, who, when Mrs. James was supposed to get the summons, because they're thinking even more serious than the building enforcement, right? If we serve Mrs. Barnes, Mrs. James enforcement, they go into court, then at the end of the day, the judge going to look at it when the two quarrel, and then the court call back NLA for verification, because they do, and they go out and verify it and say if wrong is really Mrs. Barnes supposed to get it, and parish council look incapable, right? Incompetent and stuff. So I try my best to ensure that the data will go out, we check the boundary. If we can, sometimes we ask the clients, based on what other additional, we probably use the surveyors to recheck the boundary. Once they do recheck the boundary, we'll ask them if they can get a copy of the surveyor's report and bring it into us. What we do, we tie it in and bring it in and then try to improve our index data. Our index data is really our added value to the National Land Agency index data. So the thing with your Jamaica, Eland Jamaica is very helpful, right? And I'm going to say, I love it. I wish we could have more straight connection to it, right? But I understand. So sometimes what I would do, no, maybe not that say that. All right, next slide. All right, so these are the added value with the whole geospatial technology. It helps us with the land use zone for the parish plan and other data in the plan itself. Our road network, subdivision, yes, one of our subdivision database that we built with the subdivision application that comes in. Ours is a little bit different from Ministry of Local Government because they also centralize, but they kind of populate it differently. We do it polygon, they do it in point data because your minister just want the value and just, what you call it, monitoring process of the system, because they will tie it back to the Amanda and then do evaluation of the whole system. But for us, we need the polygon version and stuff. So we can tell you when the subdivision comes in, which you can get to Amanda, but when you get the information really on the GPS, when the officers go, they can say, all right, did the subdivision actually get approval, right, or not, or what stage? Because by right, under the Local Improvement Act, no one is supposed to sell anybody any piece of land unless a subdivision plan is submitted and gets approval. If you do that, then you get to run yourself in a problem. However, you would not be penalized, but there's a repercussion to that because so when you sell somebody a piece of land and you're selling a piece of land today, tomorrow, they want them title, and no system no operate that way then. Under the whole approval process, yes, it's 90 days, but generally some application take almost 1 year, almost to 5 years, depending on the complexity of the subdivision. All right? So please, even the surveyors, please, when you go out and you're doing service, say you're helping the person to carry their subdivision plan through the process, please let them know not to, even the lawyers, because we have to have a meeting with them, do not sell any property until you get an approval. All right? Alright, so this is just an example I was showing to the council at the time for a particular community. All of this is when we use the GPS, the data and everything, we go out and verify it and stuff and come back, we was able to tell them which property or what range and stuff, and they decide how they're going to tackle it and stuff. Alright, so this is showing us in Manchester the consumer, how or which industry consume the information from us. For us, as I said, this, right, is it citizens? We don't have no defense in Manchester beside the JDF. The business sector is minuscule, but agriculture, infrastructure, urban development, mining, we work very well with GISCO, Windalco in our parish. We share and relate information, right? Disaster management and environmental planning. I feel like I want to finish. All right. So, let's go back one step, slide. Right. So I just want to make acknowledge, as I said, this is the publisher that actually did the report, and I use that information to produce this presentation. As well, I want to thank all the agencies that are involved in the whole geospatial technology, because if it wasn't for you, I don't think Manchester could have done what we have done today. All right? And that ends my presentation.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wallace. Truly an embodiment of a vast amount of knowledge. And thank you for sharing with us the challenges and how you overcome them in Manchester. All right, so we need to move on, and we will be moving straight into our presentation from Mr. Andre Reed, who will be presenting to us Wildfire-targeting management response through the use of remotely derived datasets. Now, just a quick bio about Mr. Reed now. He says that he's a newly minted environmentalist with just over 5 years combined experience in protected areas conservation, project management, and also watershed management. He's an avid reader who spends his time researching global and regional approaches to nature-based valuations and sustainable landscape management, with a view to identify and replicate strategies for bolstering local public participation in and ownership towards environmental issues. That's a mouthful, sir. The strategies identified and experience garnered through the years are incorporated into his daily activities as the coordinator for watershed area management at the National Environment and Planning Agency. So please put your hands together for Mr. Reed as he comes forward with his presentation on wildfire.
Just testing the remote. Usually I don't like going at the end of a technical session. But it's good and it's bad. It's good in terms of the fact that you already get all of the theory, and I don't have to talk about the theory. It's bad because you're probably tired. Alright, but I'll try to be as brief as possible. As a watershed practitioner, what my view of GIS is a little bit different from most. I try to make my work a whole lot easier by using GIS. And what I'll be providing for you today is an overview of one such instance in which I use GIS to make a decision which makes my work a lot easier. Alright? So today we'll be talking about wildfires. We call it bushfire, and I'll switch between the two. And the way we target our responses as a result of the data that we derive from open source sources. Alright, so giving a quick overview, Jamaica has many watersheds. All of them now have been grouped into what we call watershed management units. In 2013, the agency would have done a ranking of the watersheds, and it would have highlighted the ones in red being critical, the ones in 8 colors, that's beige. Beige. Alright, the next color being at risk. But the view of watershed management has kind of shifted over the years. We call it paradigm shifts. So there was a time when we used to focus solely on the hydrological considerations. Now, information such as bushfires or instances of bushfires, ecological considerations beyond that are important considerations that now underpin watershed management. Because the reality is, across Jamaica, is that our human footprint, we tend to destroy things a lot. So you have issues related to waste management, fires for sure, improper agricultural practices, improper development, deforestation. And I just want to point your mind at where's the pointer? Last one. Alright. This is the area right here. So this is the area it's just behind the Wallace intake. So majority of the persons that work in Kingston or have been in Kingston for a while have heard about the Wallace pipeline. Yes, this is the state of the watershed right behind it. So the area that depends so much for water, and this is the state of the watershed right behind it. So that's why the rivers are low. Sometimes. So there's two opposite views on wildfires. So you have one school of thought that look at wildfires in terms of its integral importance in maintaining forest ecology and that revival that they get as a result of the wildfire. And then you have the other school of thought that talk about the impact on conservation, because the reality is that a fire costs money. And if you're there implementing strategies and you're doing reforestation and a fire comes around, then that is money down the drain. Alright? And to talk about money, if you bring your minds to the last 2 major fires that we had, one of them being Mavis Bank, for those in this area, and that had an estimated cost of 200 million to the agricultural sector, not to everybody, just to the agricultural sector. More recently, you had a fire in Flagaman, and that had an estimated cost of 45 million. And then the health impact. The health impact is unfortunately not as quantified. It's not, you don't have a dollar value to put on it, but you can just imagine for those who have asthma, the impact on you. And there was a study, there was an analysis done by the Jamaica Fire Brigade, and they were looking at the 4-year period ending in 2019. And they would have said Jamaica recorded a near 60% increase in the number of recorded bushfire occurrences. Now, I stressed recorded because the Jamaica Fire Brigade's data set is, we say, delimited by its methodology. So because Fire Brigade relies on you reporting the fire to them, the database that they maintain just reflects what was reported. Well, really and truly, you have far more fires beyond that. And the causation behind the fires, there was a study by a brighter mind, Charlton, Stevenson, Taylor, up at UWI, where they looked at the climatic considerations that are linked to fires. What I'm doing today is looking at that plus the anthropogenic impacts that are linked to fire. So, as I said, the fire brigade data set, as good as it is limited. Most of the times they look at it is basically the communities and the areas that are close to the communities. But the advances in remote sensing, and so Wallace talk about a lot of that, so I won't go into it. But basically it's made our life easier because you have products that you can rely on to get information on even fires. So one such product comes from, we're just going to use the short terms, we're going to talk about MODIS, and then on the other side we're going to talk about VERS. So MODIS is the older technology. They have a spatial resolution of 1 kilometer. So you know, anything within a 1 kilometer radius, that's where they think it is. Anywhere within that 1 kilometer. Charlton in her study would have looked at the MODIS datasets and would have compared it to the Jamaica Fire Brigade datasets. I would have said that the information is underreported by a factor of nearly 30. Now, coincidentally, as I said, MODIS has a higher spatial resolution. If you're looking at the VERS dataset, which has a resolution of 375, you're getting higher detection rates using VERS. So if MODIS is saying you're underreporting, imagine what VERS is saying. You don't have to imagine. So on here, you're seeing over the 2020 to 2021 period for MODIS and the 2012 to 2021 period for VERS. And you can immediately see the red dots scattered all over in comparison to the blue. So you're getting higher detection rates in the VERS datasets as opposed to the MODIS datasets. Now, if you were to look at it across parishes, you will realize that the variability between the two datasets is the same. So if you're having more reporting in St. Catherine, you're seeing more reporting in both VERS and in the MODIS dataset. Similar for when you have a low reporting in like St. James, big up St. James, you have lower detection rates with MODIS and lower detection rates with the VERS. Now, when you have equal variance, you can then run some statistics and pick up all who do stats. I use technology to make my life easier, so I use SPSS. And I just ensure that I abide by the assumptions. But when we use a t-test, you realize that the variance between the two data sets is statistically significant. And I would have given the actual values for it. You have detection of 11,973 over the period as opposed to 2,628. Now, if you look at it over the years coming in now, looking at VERS, because VERS have more detection, you realize that you had an increase coming up to 2015, and 2015 is when you had the Mavis Bank. So I'm not sure if it's a shock value of Mavis Bank or climate scientists who are left will to tell us about the drought situation in 2015, but there was an immediate dip in 2016. Then you have that building coming back up, And then in 2021, we kind of had a drop off again. Hopefully. But, I mean, if you were to look at the data, yes, but look at how it's clustering, you realize that you have about 5 significant clusters across the island in terms of fires. You have one in Westmoreland, a little one in St. Elizabeth, Clarendon, and then right along the highway, you drive along the north-south. Yeah, you can always see the fires right here, and you see detecting it. You have a cluster here. We automatically from Kingston know this is Riverton. And then you have up in my little watershed area, now you have another cluster and another cluster there. Now, whether or not it is climate related, or as I term it, spark related, where a man and drop it on the ground, or just because of negligent burning, you can interrogate the data to kind of see clues. So if you're looking at, majority of us know that Jamaica has a bimodal rainfall pattern. So immediately you can see the peaks in the data set to correspond with that. Now, and if you don't trust me, trust, again, the climate scientist out of UWI. So, when I look at my data set and compare to the openly available 30-year mean rainfall data on Met Service website, you will realize that for Kingsford, for the instance of St. Andrew, for the parish of St. Andrew, you can see wherein when you have a peak in rainfall in May, you also had a peak in amount of fires detected. When you had a dip in rainfall in July, you had a peak in rainfall, in fires detected. So whereas right in July, we can immediately think to ourselves that it might be climate related, it is not really able to account for this increase in in fire detections in May.
Maybe it really increase water, increase agriculture, but burn.
And you'll see an instance of increased agriculture coming out of the data sets. So Flaggerman is more what you'd expect if it's a strict sentence bed people got you enough. So you can see within the sentence bed data set where you're seeing that inverse relationship that you're expecting for a climate scenario coming out. So you see increases in rainfall followed by a dip in fires, decreases in rainfall followed by increases in fires. Now go to Westmoreland. Westmoreland is interesting, but if you think about where on the map you saw the cluster, if you know Jamaica really well, you'll immediately understand why Westmoreland is showing this increase in fire between January, February, March. Anybody know what happened in Westmoreland roundabout room? Sugar cane. So sugar cane and harvesting of sugar cane is a huge issue. And you see wherein you can see the amount of fires that are detected. And then right after the harvesting period it dips. And then coming into November, December, you see the amount of fires starting to come up again. So reaping time come around. Clarendon, you kind of seen some amount of expectation. So you see the dip in rainfall, you see the increase, but then you also see this unreasonably high detection rate here. Now I could, yeah, some of it is sugar cane, but then sugar cane never really dropped down in a Clarendon.
No.
Money must have closed up?
No.
Money must close up? No. They still have the sugar?
They still have the sugar and they're still sending rainfall data to Met.
Oh, so they're still sending, we'll come to some of this. Alright. But yeah, so like you can see where in some parishes, the whole claim that yes, it's natural and it is climate, it stands up. But then in other parishes, you realize that it's really us as humans that are contributing to the instances of fire. Now, in terms of whether or not it's climate or spark, I really want to interrogate the data some more before I come to a conclusion, consult with the experts who say they have more data, and then you look at it and you make up a solid justification as to whether or not climate or spark. But really and truly it's true. Because even the cluster that we're seeing in Mavis Park, you know what going up there, so slash and burn every day. Understand? But then how do we use this information to target management response? So understanding the causation behind any event to help you to kind of frame your response. So there was a legislation that was passed that is called the NRC, Natural Resource Conservation Environmental Protection Measures. We call it the anti-burning order. So the anti-burning order would have targeted some of the watersheds, but not all. And it would have made an exception for sugarcane harvesting. So whether or not that exception is something that we should continue with based on the data is something that we need to interrogate and say, should it be that no more sugarcane burning because of what we're seeing in terms of the impact on bushfires? Because really and truly, when we're looking at the data and we borrow from Ezra and look at the land cover data, whereas we are seeing quite a few fires in areas that are delineated as crops. We also seen a lot of fires in areas that are coded as being forests, the trees. And then importantly, look at the one that says rangeland. So if you were to zoom in on the data sets, the cluster within Westmoreland, the areas that are not actively under sugarcane, the areas that forestry department will tell you that are converting into forest because of them being abandoned for so long, those areas are at risk to fires. So yes, you're burning within the sugarcane, but fires don't respect anybody, and then you're damaging the rangelands, which have impacts on our conservation targets. So really and truly, my role as a watershed practitioner and a total wisher is that I believe that ArcGIS or Esri in general, all of the data sets that we derive through these open source areas and the paid areas helps us to make decisions. So if you hear me talk again, you'll hear me most likely mention decision support analysis. So I use the information to drive my decisions and to drive my responses to issues that we may encounter. Because the reality is, we know that there needs to be a balance. So you have persons like on my side that want to conserve, and you have persons who actually rely on the environment to earn their living. And that's why I leave you with my friend Louise Edwards. There was a project, Yellow Soul project, and she was one of the beneficiaries under the project. And the way she termed it, she said, it's my trade, is what she knows. So we need to have healthy watersheds, yes, but we need to ensure continued livelihoods and ensure healthy lives. And that is my presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reed. It was a riveting presentation, truly informative. Like I say, it was on fire. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to a close, but not just yet. I'm going to invite all of our presenters just to come question and answers, right? So I'm going to ask all of our presenters to just join me at the front here, and we will invite members of the audience to present their questions, to which our presenters will answer, respond accordingly. But also please to note that we are pressed for time, so I'm going to ask that you give each presenter 1 to 2 questions so that they may answer, and then we'll move on. Any questions? There are questions online.
Questions online?
Yeah.
All right, so can we see them so we can have them asked? All right, so Akina, you will read, and we have a hand up in the audience. Let's take the one in the audience until we get to the ones online. And we'll bring the mic to you, sir.
The ones online are here.
You have them?
Yeah.
I can't see anything.
Good afternoon. Great presentations all around
Seal Blake is
Congress and that. For NLA, I came in right late, so I'm not sure if it was addressed. What type of drone you use? That was addressed?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. Also, I wanted to know the specific software that you use for post-processing. That was addressed? No?
No.
So the specific software for post-processing, I wanted to know if you use drone to map, which should be a part of the ELA, and if you use something else that's not a part of the ELA. Also, I wanted to know how you handle storage, because when you're using drone data, LiDAR, all that, we had a problem in terms of we got some LiDAR data, and I think it was 500 gigs. So just to bring it over into our system, it was a problem. So how you manage the storage in terms of dealing with big data. And yeah, I think that was it in terms of the conversion to point cloud, if you could go into that process as well. I'm from NWA, Works Agency. I apologize for the inconvenience.
Thank you. All right. So I try to remember them all. So what types of drones do we use? So we use a number of departments use drones, different divisions, right? And it's based on what the divisions use it to do. So within the land valuation division and our estate management division, they use quadcopters. So mostly DJI So like the Mini SE and the DJI Mini 2. We had the Parrot and Nafi drones before, so we use those as well, but mostly for training now, right? Within the surveys and mapping division, we have a number of varied use cases. So we use similar drones to the ones I mentioned just now, but we also use fixed-wing drone. When we have a fixed-wing drone, that's the SenseFly EBX, and we have a VTOL drone, which is the Wingtra 1 Generation 2 vertical takeoff and landing drone, and then we're acquiring some others. Software. For software, so we do use Drone to Map as a post-processing software, and we use Pix4D. So Drone to Map is attached to the ELA, right? So organizations that are a part of the ELA can, as we did, access Drone to Map, and we found it to be very good for processing, right? So we get very good results. Being very honest, Pix4D is a bigger boy. I think Drone to Map was made off the platform of Pix4D, right? So it's a much more robust software. You asked about point cloud storage. So we have not yet gone LiDAR, but we are going there, right? So we have not yet had that problem that you had, right? And we're trying to plan for it, right? So far, we have been allocated a section of a server, you know, probably a major section of a server to facilitate all the drone data that we currently collect. Yes, right? So, I mean, with the expectation of getting LiDAR, I believe the business will have to look at probably giving us our own imagery server, right? Because, you know, you're dealing with an exponentially greater, you know, level of resource that's needed, right, in terms of storage, and in terms of processing as well.
500 gig?
Right, right. So imagine processing that, running that through. So it's not just the storage that we have to consider, but also the processing power, right? So you have to get those machines that are, those computers that are almost like servers themselves. Right, yes, and they are very expensive. And for some of the processes that we do, especially 3D, we also try to get those that have 3D monitors, you know, so that also takes on another expense. But that's what we have in place, and we will have to update that infrastructure for LiDAR. You asked one more?
It's supposed to be on the thumb drive.
Oh, point clouds, right. So the process of creating point clouds, it's really the same process for any type of drone. What's important is the process of collecting the data, right? And any professional drone, once you collect the data in the right way, you can actually run the data through the processing software and obtain your point cloud, right? All point clouds are the same, right? So the type of drone that you use, you know, and the more advanced the camera in terms of megapixels. Imagine having a phone, for example, which is a 4 megapixel camera, right? And one that has a 20 megapixel camera. It's a totally different ball game, right? So the point cloud will be better with the type of drone. When you use the type of drone that gives you a much better resolution, and of course it pulls more processing power as well, right? But yes, so we do use Pix4D mostly to run our point clouds, to create our point clouds, right? Because as I said, it's a little bit more robust than than drone to map. You're welcome.
Thank you for that. We will, if there are no more other questions in the audience, we're going to move to the questions that we have online.
Okay, Cecile Blake is asking the wildfire speaker his definition of GIS, and she's also asking his definition of the digital geospatial economy.
Alright, so let's sway away from the theory for a little bit. As I said, how I view GIS is using the technology to make my workflow easier. And if you look at how the digital economy is being structured, it's a matter of taking those regular day-to-day, as they call it, brick and mortar approaches, and transforming it in a way that is more efficient and more cost effective. If you're in government, you understand why. You cannot, I could not physically drive to all areas where I think there might be a fire and try to map them. As I said, there's a Jamaica Fire Brigade database, but at the same time that is more restricted to communities. So when I view GIS, it's always solution oriented. I try to stray away from the back end of it, the infrastructure and all that. I focus on what kind of solutions I can get out of GIS. That's how I view GIS. The solution side, the data response side, to making decisions based on data. That's how I view GIS.
Oh, Cecilia is also asking if the last speaker, who is from Nepal, could give an example of give an example when he used data and technology to make an important decision and the impact that it had. But that was essentially what all your presentation was about. So, yeah.
So I'll give you a more recent response. So basically, the agency between 2017 to 2021, there was a project, the Yalaso project. So the Yalaso project was built on a restoration model that would look at how you can use interventions to lead to improvements in sedimentation within a stream. So at the end of that project, what we did as a project, well, more myself, what we did was to use what we call soil and water analysis tool, which is an extension. So again, as I said, I always focus on the solutions. So there's an extension that can be integrated within ArcGIS that is called SWAT, Soil and Water Analysis Tool. So what we would have used that information to do is to drive how we go further with the interventions in the area. So having run that analysis and look at sedimentations and how that sedimentation has responded to the interventions, we were able to make a rough assessment of an 8% reduction in sediment coming into the Wallace and Hope watersheds as a result of the interventions. Now, based on that, the agency would have seen it fit to continue activities using the same kind of model within the watersheds. So you're going further now. I said, well, we have proven that if we intervene in X way, it leads to Y result. So now we're going to continue on that vein. And that's how we would have made a recent decision, and there are others, can contact me. A recent decision, that's how we use the data and the solutions behind GIS to make informed decisions.
All right, so that is it for our online questions. Gentleman from... No problem.
So Ryan, in terms of you mentioned something about a subdivision application. In that when you get the subdivision applications, you map them out and you have that as a part of your GIS system, right? In a sense. So I wanted to know what is the workflow. Is it that when you get because I suspect that you get the blueprints, you get all the plans, is it that you scan all of these documents, then you go through, digitize the polygons, then bring it through, or is it a more automated process? And for NEPA, the data that you have worked on for the fire incidents, is it that you share that with the fire brigade to probably assist them in terms of, because it's grossly understated in terms of how many fires happen. So I want to know, what is the communication with them to improve, the work that they do in terms of incident mapping.
All right. So the workflow for the subdivision application, right? So first of all, we first vet the application before we accept it into the system as a whole, part of the process with the amend and the whole application. Then for the GIS component now, what I do now is that part of the vetting now, because even with NLA, has a standard that the application, the blueprint, is supposed to have the JAD coordinate system. right? 2001. So I use that to help. My process is a little bit easier because before I would have to probably go up on the NLA and try to figure out where the subdivision is really actually located, or call the person who will look for where the land is, and then use our GIS and map the location and bring it in and then try to scale it back to its actual location. And then now, once I do that now, everything related to the land in terms of the approval process, the area of the land, how many lots, lot numbers, who own, well, the owner who submit it, because we don't know after it's subdue who then sell it to. We don't really business about that part. It's just who own it now and who is doing the development. And then we have a section to say when NEPA approve, when Parish Council approve, when we reach what we call certificate of completion in terms when everything meets the Parish Council standard, that we release it to carry it over to NLA to do the titling. So the system records all of that, and we have it for the big and the small. But yes, I can tell you, it's not automated because we're not that complex or in terms of what we have at the moment. But hopefully going forward, because what I realized when we're doing background research, because the Parish Council itself now needs to automate itself, not only with the GIS, but the whole workflow within the organization, from the plan to the enforcement part, to meeting back with the citizens, a whole ecosystem that we need to get automated. And yes, Ezra is good, but Ezra is limited to a point, and we need another software to kind of bring everything together and have it automated. So where we are now is still kind of manual, but it's helpful for the moment.
Alright, so to my question. The research, as I have it here, is just being finalized. As I said, there are some areas that I want to refine a bit, but in terms of the data behind the detection, that is openly available. Now, the play that I had in mind when I started going through the research and going through the literature, majority of us would have known about the bushfire warning index. Now, the reports from Fire Brigade actually underpin that warning index. I wanted to have a look at it, but I was told not yet. But the idea behind what I'm doing is that eventually we can probably integrate these openly derived data sets, having validated it. As I said, brighter minds than myself would have validated it, Chaplain. Don't trust me, trust Chaplain. But at the end of the day, you can see where in the variability between the data sets, between the Jamaica Fire Brigade data sets and the MODIS data sets was similar. And then we went further, we saw that the variability between the MODIS and the VERS was also similar. So we are confident that the data would only lead to a robust improvement in the bushfire warning index in the long term.
Do you still want to say the online question? Alright, so our last question for the evening will come from online, and then after this we will close the question and answer.
Had asked what methodology was used to determine the 5.5 figure and the use of the various technologies.
5.5, the number.
The percentage for the
Okay, to find, alright, so from the report that I read, if you have a copy of the presentation, it could be emailed to the person. They can check the report, because they have at the beginning the executive summary, how they break down the methodology in collecting the data and to publish, and that's how they got to the 5.5.
Alright, so our final question for the evening will come from Ms. Lloyd.
Thank you. Fredrick, thank you. You had spoken to the fact that the use of drones, that is capital intensive. Yeah, there's a lot of money involved. So with that, could you help us to understand some rough cost estimates that would help us if we're going to be starting up? So if you're a new person, you want to get into drones, what you need to consider in terms of costing for what, to guide us so that we can determine where we need to go in terms of budgeting and all of that.
Lord, really, I put it on the spot right now. However, it depends on what you want the drone to do. Take for instance, for a person who is doing a just valuations in terms of inspections only. It don't really need such a big drone like the VTOL or the FX Wing or the Navigator 2S or so forth. You can even start with a Mini 2. The Mini 2 is running in the region now of between 200 US and 400 US. So the 400 US for the one with the full pack, three batteries, the remote and so forth. And that in a sense is, remember before that, they used to have some bigger drones and some huge money, like 1,000 US and up. But now they're coming down, and the drones are getting much, much smaller and far more efficient. So things like the Mini 2 can actually work, and there's another one on the market now that is rivaling DJI, the Artel, and they have the Nano. And then you have the versions now where people doing like for Mr. Wallace and Mr. Chaplain here, who need the bigger sensors to do their work in terms of multispectral as well as photogrammetry and so forth. Those drones, whew, well, how much was for the Artel? Now the VTOL? Alright, that's enough. At a house on land and upwards of 10 million. My God. No. However, as I said, it depends on what you're using the drones for. And if, for instance, if your processes are data intensive and accuracy in terms of measurements and so forth, well, they go for the more expensive drones, even the ASUS. There's a lot of people are coming in the market now, but right now the best one is actually DJI and the Artel and the Move. Yes, training. Yeah. Because when that bill is passed, everybody will have to be certified, trained, and certified. I'm not blowing in the horn here, but NLA is leading right now. I don't know about UTech. Yeah. But so basically training is part of the cost, as well as the drones itself, and it's based on what you need for. That's it.
And the software.
Oh yes. Why do I forget the software?
Yeah. So again, drone to map helps. So if there are entities here who are connected to the ELA, I would say drone to map is your go-to because of course that's going to be least expensive. If persons are private and they are not a part of the ELA, then you probably want to look at drone deploy.
Drone deploy is one.
There are other applications as well, right? Depending on what you want to do. For example, you want to work with point clouds. Actually, you can outsource your processing.
Yes.
So you can do it on a projectized level. So let's say that finance is an issue, but you have a critical project and you have money budgeted for various things. So you can budget and outsource your processing, right? So you wouldn't have to invest in the software, right? Because the software can be very expensive, like X4D, for example. So I would say do it on a projectized level, outsource your processing, you get your products back,
yes,
and then you use like a free software like Cloud Compare,
yes,
and do your other processing, right? And just to say that there are many use cases for the data. Just to name a few, mining or construction. You can do a flyover and tell what's the volume of sand that's on the site, right? Because you can use certain processing software and you can do your volumetric analysis, right? You can do another flyover a few days after and tell how much of the material was removed from the site or was used on the site, right? You can do that for quarry. Quarries, you can determine how much material was dug out. So there are so many use cases, all right?
Even the time when they would keep the sand from off of the beach, we could have found out how much sand they keep.
Yes, yes, right? So I mean, yes. Right, so but I would say to reduce some of the costs or to manage your cost, right? It depends on what you're doing and it depends on how you're aligned, right? And so you have options depending on what the situation is.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, so we're coming to the close of our question and answer section, and I would like the audience to give our presenters a very big round of applause. not only for the presentations, but also for the information that they have shared and the awareness level that they have made us be aware of as it pertains to their areas and their aspects of expertise. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here. I invite you to take your seats. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to that very important part of the day, where we will close out. All right, just before we close though, I want to invite you all to have some refreshments before you leave. The refreshments will be served at the entrance of the door before you go out. And I will also invite Ms. Lloyd to make an announcement.
So 2 quick announcements. Many thanks to our speakers. Rafiq has kindly extended his gratitude. Let me extend my gratitude for you coming. So to Andre, to Ryan, to Fredrick, and to thank you so much for coming and for sharing all that you have done with us. All right, thank you so much. We'll be having a special appreciation luncheon on the 27th of November. Please put that in your calendars from now. We'll be sending out official invites, and we'll be inviting you to come to that luncheon so we can especially show you our gratitude during that luncheon. We will also be extending special invitations across the board to persons who have been very supportive of the various activities that have been put on by the Land Information Council of Jamaica and the NSMB. So you'll be getting special invitations between now and then so that you are able to join us on the 27th for that special sit down, to eat and greet, and to laugh and somewhat play, because we're having little fun games and activities on that day. So that's the 27th. Additionally, another announcement. So 5Cs, the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, they have a special project within which they'll be conducting data collection in terms of LiDAR collection for selected Caribbean countries. They're going to be doing this in January. They plan to do so early January because, of course, the survey that needs to be done is extremely weather dependent. And so they have reached out to Jamaica. They have identified Jamaica as one of the Caribbean countries that they will be flying and collecting the LiDAR for. And so they would really want to know what are key areas of interest that our government entities have, so that that can be factored into the areas that they fly. So I'm going to throw it out to you for you to just give me a quick response in terms of, based on where you sit, your organization, are there any particular areas of interest in Jamaica that are key for you, of which you would benefit from LiDAR data? All town centers, all right, that's from NLA. Any other areas? Road, Remiki, so roads in general across the island. I think that might be quite wide, but I'll put that in. So roads, Portland and St. Mary in particular. All right, so Portland and St. Mary. I'm hearing roads. I'm hearing town centers. And Manchester in general, all of Manchester. Okay, all of Manchester.
We want to know how Manchester has progressed since the shutdown of mining totally.
Okay.
So post pre. Yeah.
So pre and post mining activities. So Manchester, all of Manchester is an area of interest. Okay, so mining areas. All right, thank you. I heard something else.
Crops and
so agriculture areas throughout the island. And?
how it shrinks.
Sorry? Oh, and how it's shrinking. Okay, so agriculture lands. So I'm hearing 3 parishes in particular. So Manchester, Portland, and St. Mary, so those 3 in particular, but apart from that, town centers across the island generally, Focus on road infrastructure, also focus on coastline. Wow, this is sounding like they should capture all of Jamaica. I am not sure if they'll be able to do that. I'm not sure how many countries in total they'll actually be flying, but I know they say they want to start early in January, and they want to see how much they can capture, because whatever is going to be captured is going to be shared. All right?
Also, vegetation, especially within the KMA, because there has been an increase in activities within the built environment, especially up by Reading side.
Yeah.
So I'd like for that information to be captured to see like what things have been like before, present, and we can, from that data we can project what will happen in the next 5 to 10 years.
So vegetation change within the Kingston metropolitan area?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we try to capture all of that in terms of providing a response to them, and then to get feedback when the actual fly happens and when the data is provided to facilitate sharing. All right. So thank you for that feedback. This was an ideal opportunity to get that from you in 5 minutes. So thank you. So back over to you, Rafiq. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, we are coming to a close, and I would like to thank you all presenters. I want to thank you, members of audience, technical team, members online, and everyone else. I will also extend a thank you to Dr. Young in his absence, and just thank you all for making this event what it was. It was really good, and it was good for you all to be here. It's good for me to be here also. I would say I didn't share much in the initial, but I am primarily IT, and to see how IT has been integrated into different aspects as it even pertains to this component really has been eye-opening for me. So I thank you all for even this experience. So on that note, we are coming to a close. And before you leave, I invite you all once again to have some refreshments before you leave. I will invite the presenters to one last time to join us here at the front for your photographic moment. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. You have a wonderful evening. And yes, as you go, just a reminder, we spoke about the upcoming events. I'm just going to go over them one more time. We have the Thanksgiving service on November 12th, which is at 52 Mannings Hill Road. The 21st National GIS Day Exposition will be held at UA, and of course the Tremble Day in the Caribbean at the Marriott. All right, thank you all again, once again.